I think in a lot of situations, one of Raid's biggest downsides can be its community to some extent. And I kind of want to make a video here today going over a few things because I did see a video come out earlier today from a large content creator inside the game, and I'm not going to mention names or anything like that, but during that video they were essentially talking about the gear sets inside the game, and there was a lot of misrepresentation of some of the gear sets that we have, and I am worried that newer players especially, or players that might be less experienced with the game, might end up going based solely off that video and saying, hey, well, this gear set's not that good, so and so said so, I'm just going to go ahead and sell it, and potentially set their account back or potentially sell some very good gear pieces. So this is going to be a pretty quick one, pretty straight to the point, no tier lists or anything like that, just getting this out as quick as possible essentially. I should have every single gear set here inside the game, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to give you some actual good feedback on which sets are good and which sets are not. So here we go, let's hop right into it, and I'm going to look at equipped gear too. That way you can see, like, hey, you know, this gear set isn't that good. Gear Bear said it's not very good, and he has like 5 champions in the entire game equipped in it, right? So that's different than just sitting here and me saying, well, you know, life set's not that good. But then if I have it showing the equipped and I have, like, you know, 30 people in it, because for example, if we take a look at like the speed set, this is all my speed gear, right? So it's like, well, he's not keeping much speed gear, it's probably not that good of a set. But on the other hand, there's a lot of it equipped on champions, right? So we'll get into that. So let's go ahead, just hop straight into it. We have the life set here, we have the offense, and we have the defense sets, and I'm going to merge these kind of all into one because as you can see, they're pretty booty cheeks, right? So I have them equipped on basically nobody. The only piece I haven't sold that's not equipped is this one here, because it does have some decent rolls on it in my opinion, and I'm sure that at some point I'll put it on like a Faction Wars champion or something like that. I have 3 offensive pieces and I have 3 defensive pieces, all of which are being used on champions that I haven't really used like extensively, right? So pretty ass sets, to be honest. I wouldn't recommend keeping them after the early game. Certainly, if you're progressing through the early into the mid game, they can still be very competent gear sets, and even late game, they can be very decent gear sets for Faction Wars champions, right? Speed, on the other hand, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at my speed gear, right? So I don't have particularly good speed gear, but you can see just how absolutely important this stuff is going to end up being to your account. So I am a level 100 player, gold 4 live arena, gold 1 to 3 somewhere in there with tag team arena, and then gold 5 / low platinum with PvP. I'm beating up Ultra Nightmare Chimera. I'm beating up all the levels of Hydra that I can in a week, right? All that is to say, I'm a very experienced player. I'm very low spend when it comes to this as well, so it's not like I've just had the opportunity to whale out on super pay-to-win sets. So you can see for an account like mine, even in the late game, how absolutely crucial speed sets are, right? Some of my best champions are built inside speed. So absolutely a fantastic set. This set is going to be the bread and butter of your account for early game, mid game, late game, end game. Even Krakens are still using this stuff, people, so the speed set is fantastic. Crit rate, crit damage, very much power crept sets. As you can see, crit damage, I have a few more pieces. Crit rate, I haven't really kept. Crit rate, you don't really want this set because you want to be getting these substats. You want to be getting crit rate as substats, essentially, so you don't want to be relying on a gear set for it. Same kind of thing with crit damage, right? 2-piece set for 20% crit damage, that's basically nothing in today's meta. You're getting like double that from a Ascension. You're getting more than that from a Glove Ascension. Maybe not more than that, but you're getting pretty equal to that from a Glove Ascension. Accuracy set, pretty decent set. I use a lot of it, obviously, right? But there's sets later on that we'll go over that just do it better. Resistance, kind of booty cheeks. Again, plus 40 resistance. There's sets that just do this better as well, so I wouldn't really recommend it. Lifesteal, as you can see, I have basically none of it. Everything I have except 1 pair of boots is equipped, and they're not even full complete sets either. Lifesteal is incredibly good for the early game when you don't really have supports. But as soon as you actually have supports that can start to heal your champions, it's just so much better to build your damage dealers inside, for example, like Savage or those sorts of things. And Lifesteal is predominantly a damage dealer set because it heals you by the damage dealt, right? So you're not going to be running this on a support champion. You're not going to be running this on a reviver. It's not what it's intended for. So just something to keep in mind. Fury, as you can see, I have 1 Fury piece on my entire account, people. This set is not that good, believe it or not. It can be very situational. where you can run it on somebody like a Leorius, but at the end of the day, most of the time, 9.9 times out of 10, you're going to be just strictly better running Savage. Daze set, pretty poopy, not even going to talk about it. Curse set, actually pretty useful in some niche situations, so if you have champions inside the Hydra that are doing a lot of AoE work, so for example like your Krisks, your Bellowers, your Fellhounds, that sort of stuff, you can go ahead and run them in a curse set and it's going to have a 50% chance to place a Hex. The one consideration with this is we have so many strong champions that are coming in, especially as fusions that are placing the Hexes, right? So most notably, I believe we have a fusion going on right now. I'm pretty sure Mad Hatter did it as well. There's so many fusions that are doing it now. You don't really need to rely on the Hex set to do it. Additionally, you're probably better off just building your champions out with 9-piece Feral, 9-piece Protection, those sorts of things if you can do it. Frost set, pretty terrible. We're going to be talking about a set later that just does that, but better. Frenzy set, not very good, I wouldn't say. Plus 5% turn meter for each debuff received. It's like, where the hell are you using this, right? If you're receiving a ton of debuffs, you know, you're probably dead anyways, right? So it's not really going to be a PvE set. It's more like PvP, but it's not that good. Regeneration, very, very strong set. I do not ever have enough regeneration gear on my account. This gear is very good for any sort of champions that are going to be soloing content. And matter of fact, I use a lot of it on my Tolf, right? So that he can solo the stage 25 of Shogun's Grove. So very, very strong. Immunity set, pretty trash. Your Feral sets are just straight up going to be better than this. So just something to consider there. Shield set. Could definitely use this for some Faction Wars champions, right? It is decent in the late game. It gives you a 30% ally shield for 3 turns each round, so as you're going through wave content, it'll help your squishy champions to stay alive. Late game, or certainly for PvP though, it's really outshone by the bolster set, of course, so just something to consider there. Relentless, fantastic gear set. As with some of the other sets on this list, I never have enough Relentless. This stuff is hard to get. This stuff you only get by winning tournaments, and it can be literally game-changing with the levels of builds that you can achieve with this. So I do actually have a video coming out on that on Monday, so make sure to go ahead and check that out as well, about one of the most game-changing builds that I have on my account. And yeah, it's good stuff. Savage. Very, very good set, right? I don't have enough Savage gear ever. You always need this stuff. You need it for defense nukers, HP, and attack-based nukers, so make sure you're hunting for those good substats. Make sure you're getting pieces that have, like, you know, crit rate, crit damage, substats of, like, attack, and all that sort of stuff, because it is absolutely fantastic. So you're going to want a lot of this stuff on your account. Even still today, you can use it for, like, Faction Wars champions and whatnot. Destroy has really pretty much one niche use, and that is if you're using it on somebody like a Vergis for farming the Scarab. If you're not doing that, it's not a set that you particularly need. It is, you know, a decent just filler set though, right? So something to consider there. Stun set, absolutely fantastic. It can still essentially hard carry your account through areas that you may not be able to get through regularly. We're seeing the rise of stun coming in again with things like City of Centranos, right? So City of Centranos is absolutely dependent on a lot of RNG in a lot of cases, especially if your account is not stacked with mythical champions to the brim. This set can really help to progress you through some of those stages. Toxic set, not really, doesn't have a place in today's meta. We have so many poisoners, even at a rare and at a epic level, that can be competent in that role. We don't really need to rely on Toxic set to put those out. Provoke, 30% chance to place a Provoke. Pretty dookie set, in my opinion. You could make the case that this is better than like a stun set for somebody like a Hegemon or something like that, since it has almost double the chance of applying. You know, you very easily could make that argument, right? But stun sets are, you know, so highly regarded for a reason, because stun is better than provoke. The reason is, obviously, when they're stunned and they're just, you know, sitting there, you're not going to take damage from them when they take their turn. And additionally, stun, if you're not familiar, it stops the cooldowns from ticking down. So if they have their skills on cooldown, if they take a turn while they're under provoke, their skills are going to get closer to being off of cooldown, whereas stun, their skills are not going to change. So it's very, very strong. Retaliation, 15% chance to counterattack when hit on a 2-piece set. I think this is actually a very strong set. You can use this on somebody like a Phoenix in the arena, right, and just absolutely decimate people. Anybody with a strong A1, Carnage, right, it's a 2-piece set now. It used to be a 4-piece set, so it is a very, very solid filler set, certainly. Avenging, 45% chance to counterattack when receiving debuffs. This is essentially the retaliation set, but worse in almost every way except activation rates, right? So something to consider there. Again, you know, very strong for somebody that's receiving a lot of debuffs, but the other thing to consider is that this is a 4-piece set as well, and in today's meta, we can't really afford to put this 4-piece set on our champions instead of something else. Stalwart, it's pretty okay. You're going to have better survivability by bringing an ally protection champion, so it is what it is. Reflex gear is definitely still some of the strongest PvE gear inside the entire game, especially if you're not farming, you know, City of Centranos yet. So for early game players, this stuff quite literally can change your account. It's one of the only reasons that you might farm Ice Golem. Everything else coming from there is trash. Having a 40% chance to reduce a random skill cooldown is so strong if you're trying to get through Fire Knight Hard or something like that, and you're trying to cycle your, you know, your Cold Hearts or your Newts or whoever it might be that you're bringing in for damage. Very incredible. As you can see, I have a lot of champions built in it still. Curing set, pretty ass. Not really going to talk about that. Nobody really uses it. There's some like niche settings where you can, you know, say like, oh, hey, you know, I got extra healing out of my Rector Droth, but at the end of the day, this set generally isn't going to be a make or break between whether or not you clear a dungeon or not. So I just clicked out of it, apparently. My bad there. My hand hit the escape key. Let's go ahead. Let's go back in here, though. So we're all the way down to curing. We're going to take a look at Cruel. Cruel is the set that you get from Clan Boss. As you can see, I've been pretty strict on which pieces I keep, and I never have enough of this stuff. Attack plus 15%, ignores 5% of enemy defense. This, for the longest time, this combined with Savage was essentially the best options we had for ignore defense. But now, you know, it's just been so power crept. But this stuff is still fantastic. It's very good for faction wars. It's very, very good early game when you might not have the rest of these crazy sets. And it's certainly very good as just a filler set. So definitely hold on to your Cruel pieces. Immortal, same kind of thing. Never have enough of it. Never have good enough pieces. Immortal comes from the Clan Boss as well. So you're just looking for those survivability stats. So HP, defense, resistance, those sorts of things. And you're using this on a lot of solo champions. It's very well combined with regeneration, obviously. Divine Offense, critical rate, and life. Really, all these here are here for is just extra buffs to set up a seer composition, right? So when it comes to Divine Offense, critical rate, and life, it's the same kind of thing, unfortunately, as the regular, you know, life, defense, and crit rate sets. You're going to have better sets, right? So you may get some insane gear drops of this, but don't worry too much about them, I wouldn't say. You're certainly not going to be using them late game. As you can see, I have very few pieces for these. They are definitely an upgrade to the base sets, but not good enough to really be concerned about, I wouldn't say. Divine Speed, on the other hand, is a incredibly good set. It's a direct upgrade to obviously the speed set, so you're getting a shield, you're getting a bunch of speed on there. It is fantastic stuff, people, so make sure to be trying to farm this stuff out. This stuff you're getting from the arena drops, so as you push up into the arena, or once you complete your Great Hall, your 1000 crest chests that you can get it from there as well, which means that you can actually start to get mythical pieces now, which is pretty cool. Swift Parry. Unfortunately, I have quite literally never built out a champion in an entire Swift Parry set. This stuff is insanely hard to forge because it needs a lot of resources to do it, essentially. Generally, resources that you're getting from, like, you know, tournaments or packs and that sort of stuff. Deflection set is pretty okay. Same kind of thing. Huge resource requirement to craft this stuff. I never really got into it, but deflection set notably can deflect polymorph, and I did actually have a video about that as well, so that's just something to notate. Resilience set is the easiest way to get silver inside the entire game. You can essentially just craft all your resilience and sell it instantly without worrying too much about it. It is a decent set, don't get me wrong. It's a 2-piece set that has HP and defense. If you're mid-game, early game, even early end game, you can still be using this. As you can see, I have a very good piece here. I have 2 pieces on my Freya. I have a piece on my Harima, right? Like, I still certainly get use out of it on my account. So it's not absolutely trash. You can still get away with using it. It's one of the sets that comes from farming faction wars. So everybody's going to have access to it. Perception, as you can see, is one of those things. It's like the speed set. I have so damn much of this stuff, it's lagging my computer just trying to load it all. It is absolutely insane how much perception gets used on my account. So this stuff is accuracy plus 40 and speed plus 5, which may not sound crazy until you're actually trying to build out fast champions for the arena that also need accuracy. Perception is one of the best sets in the game, hands down, without a question. It is what it is, right? So something to keep in mind there. Affinity Breaker, very niche. I don't have very good pieces for it. You might have better luck forging it. I usually use my glyphs, or not glyphs, but my, oh, what are those things called in the forge? The enhancers, right? We'll call them the enhancers. The performance enhancing drugs. The forge enhancing drugs. I use them for more high tier sets, so like lethal and stuff like that, right? Untouchable, pretty ass. Feral is just an upgrade to this. Fatal, pretty terrible, right? You're gonna have better options. Frostbite, unironically, one of the best sets in the entire game, people. This set is so slept on. As a matter of fact, I did an entire video dedicated to it that I don't think ever got as much traction as I thought it deserved, but this set is so good. 15% chance to block freezes, 10% chance to place a freeze debuff on the attacker. If you're not familiar, debuffs placed by sets inside Raid Shadow Legends do not require accuracy to be placed. So this means that you can build Pythion, Duchess, Galathier, Harima, Sifi, UDK, Sun Wukong, anybody inside Frostbite set, and it's just going to straight up have a 10% chance to place a freeze debuff on the attacker anytime they are touched, right? So I have won so many live arena fights, even one earlier today where their champions, including Galathier, just kept getting frozen back to back because they keep hitting my UDK, who's built out inside of it. It is so incredibly strong. Definitely keep these pieces, use them. If you're trying to push late game arena and whatnot, you're definitely going to need them, in my opinion. Bloodthirst is strictly just lifesteal, but it's a bit more late game viable. You're not really going to be using this stuff though, people. There's just better options out there. Guardian was kind of the talk of the town for a couple of months when it first came out, and then it very quickly got power crept. With Guardian, you're pretty much just looking for, obviously, like your HP stats, defense, and resistances, because it's essentially just kind of like a Bulwark Mastery, but on a gear set. So you're soaking in damage from your teammates. You want to put this stuff on like Ally Protectors, Vogoths, that sort of stuff. Definitely good to have a couple of good pieces around, but it's not too crazy. Fortitude, we're not even going to talk about. Lethal is one of the best sets in the entire game, even still in mid-2025. This stuff is so good. It is Savage. It is Slayer. It is Merciless, but it is accessible. Because for those sets, in the case of Slayer, you're going to have to, you know, and it's not anywhere near as good as Slayer. Let me be perfectly clear with that, right? Slayer, you're going to have to spend money. Merciless is going to be gate kept behind beating higher intensity levels of City of Centranos. So this stuff is your version of that gear set if you cannot farm those locations at this point on your account. Even for me, as you can see, I'm using it on a lot of champions. I have my Harima built in this stuff. I have my Fushan built in this stuff. I have Marquis built in this stuff. I have He-Man built in this stuff. There's so many champions. I have Marius using pieces of this stuff. I have my Aphodus in this. There's so many, right? There's Oboro built in this. There's so many champions. We can just go on and on. You're always going to need more of these gear sets. This is strictly just Savage, but a straight upgrade. There's no reason not to. Sun Wukong is built in it as well. One of my strongest nukers. Protection is a very decent set. All the way up at 9 piece. Every time you place a buff, it has a 75% chance for it to be protected, which means it can't be stolen or removed, which is pretty cool. And allies are going to deal 5% more damage per each buff placed by the wearer. So if you have somebody who's putting out a lot of buffs, this is a very, very strong set. We have Stone Skin. At the time of recording this video, still one of the strongest sets for Arena. This stuff is absolutely ridiculously broken. We have Embryo, who is coming into the game from the Chimera rewards here soon, who's going to be able to just strip Stone Skin, though, which is going to be an interesting meta shifter. Got to crack my neck real quick, don't mind me. So I'm interested to see how that will go. So yeah, interesting interesting stuff. We're going to have to wait until closer to the end of the year, I'd imagine, to see how the meta shifts, but this stuff will carry you so hard, especially in the mid to lower end arenas. Kill Stroke, it's something that you're going to acquire from the clan shop. It's kind of like an upgraded crit damage set. It's not bad, in all honesty. It can be a good filler. Instinct, still a very decent set. I would not spend the money on the passes for this personally, because you can essentially just use like a lethal set, and it's going to be pretty damn close to the same thing, right? You're just not going to have that speed bonus, but then lethal is, you know, stronger when it comes to your ignore defense effects, right? So lethal, or rather instinct, is kind of more like a PvP oriented version of lethal. So if you're just kind of an overall progression player, lethal is going to be perfectly fine for you. If you're just strictly wanting to push as high as you can in PvP, there's still probably better sets than instinct. So it's a bit of a weird situation. Bolster, pretty decent set. This stuff is good on any sort of a tank that has a lot of HP, but keep in mind we do have champions in the game now that are just strictly more powered up if you have shields, so like a Narcissus, right, for example. Defiant is just straight up the set that we were talking about earlier that mitigates AoEs, but better. This one gives you 10% defense and then 15% damage less taken from AoEs. Very good for Hydra, very good for Chimera, anywhere you need to survive. Impulse, in my opinion, is one of the best sets in the entire game as well. This is strictly just a speed set combined with a reflex set. This stuff is absolutely insane. So you want good rolls of speed, accuracy, resistances, and then maybe some damage stats on this as well, because you can certainly make some crazy builds with this. Zeal is a bit more questionable. I don't really have an opinion on it because I haven't built it out on any sort of my champions or tested it or anything like that. I seen Saf from the HH Gaming Network made a video on it though, and he was very disappointed, so I'm probably going to go with his opinion. Righteous, very good set in my opinion as well. This is the stuff that you're going to be running on like your Crixias, your Sifis, those sorts of champions. This is a speed set, but for somebody who also wants resistance, so this would be very good on like Galathiers too, right? So the next time this stuff comes out into the Forge Pass, I'm definitely going to be purchasing that Forge Pass and seeing if I can get myself a little bit more pieces than this, that's for sure. Supersonic, contrary to what some people may say, is not a trash set. This set is hands down one of the best sets in the entire game, and it is probably not even close when it comes to being a speed champion. Why is that? Well, that's because of this 4-piece bonus here. This is what you want out of the set, right? Everything else, so the 6-piece bonus and the 9-piece bonus are just nice additives, but the most important bonus is the 4-piece bonus, and let me explain why that is. Inside Raid Shadow Legends, if you're going into an arena fight and I have a champion that has 400 speed and you have a champion that has 410 speed, let's say they're both Arbiters or both Sifis, right? If you have a Sifi that's 410 and my Sifi is just 400, you are going first. No questions asked, right? Then your next champion goes, as long as you're speed tuned. Then your next champion goes. Then your nuker goes and just blows everything up, right? Supersonic says, hey, your Sifi just placed a shit ton of buffs, so my Sifi now, who would be a 400 speed and would generally just not have a chance, now gets a turn meter boost and now gets to cut in, right? So it's so incredibly useful. I have a Fabian whose build I showcased. He's at around 365 speed with Supersonic, and he is able to cut in on champions that are well in excess of 400 speed, which is just insane, right? So you're basically making up the difference of like 40 plus speed with a 4-piece set that you can get on accessories. If someone ever tells you that Supersonic is not a good set at the time of recording this video on April 11th, 2025, you can easily write off that person as not knowing what the hell they are talking about. Easily. Simply, case closed, right? Supersonic is one of the strongest sets. If you are a low spend player, if you are a free-to-play player, if you are a mid-tier spending player, if you're an early game player, this is going to be the set that gives your account a chance against players that have been playing for years inside the arena whenever they go first and buff up, right? So it actually gives you that chance to cut in and have a go at it and not just say, well, my speed was slower, guess I'm fucked. Right? So just something to keep in mind. Merciless set, same kind of thing. This thing is so damn good. So especially if you can get a 6-piece set, it is like Savage combined with Reflex, combined with a crit damage set, combined with a speed set. It is insane. but especially if you can get it to the 9-piece set, it's even more ridiculously broken with that extra chance of an extra turn. So it's basically a relentless set in there as well. Very, very strong. Slayer, same kind of thing. This is very, very strong if you're running AoE damage dealers like Trunda, Oburu, those sorts of champions inside Hydra. That's kind of where this specializes. It's going to be very good on like a Marius as well, but this is strictly a pay-to-win set because the only way to get it is through the Forge Pass. Feral, it's coming from Siege, and it is a fantastic set as well. So 4-piece set, it's just an immunity, which is very, very strong, but you're getting an additional 80 accuracy as well as 10% speed. When you have the 6-piece set, it gives you a 50% chance to be immune to polymorph, essentially, plus more speed. And then with a 9-piece set, allies are going to deal 5% more damage per each debuff placed by the wearer. This stuff is ridiculously good. We are now starting to see like 9-second speed runs on Iron Twins, which are only possible because of the Feral set, so make sure to keep that on your account. Pinpoint. You might think it's not good because I don't have much of it. On the contrary, this is also one of the best sets inside the game. The reason being is when you have these intercept stacks, it's going to make it so that you can't be polymorphed, stunned, slept, provoked, anything frozen that would normally crowd control you, right? So it's going to eat those up essentially, plus it's giving you accuracy and speed. This is going to be the set that you need late game and end game in live arena, especially for your debuffers. It is very, very strong, and I wish I had more of it. Stone Cleaver essentially exists to counter Stone's Skin, right? So at a 6-piece set, it's basically just Savage, but slightly worse. You know, you can factor in like the attack and crit damage and all that, but I mean, it's not too crazy. And then with a champion like Embryos coming out soon here, we don't really need this set, right? So Rebirth, very, very strong in my opinion. 9-piece set. You're really looking for the 6-piece and the 9-piece. So the 6-piece is going to place a block damage on the wearer for 1 turn when an ally is killed by an enemy. So if you can imagine this on, like, for example, a Marichka, just dragging out those fights, on your Sifis, your Duchess, your Cardinals, those sorts of champions, right? It's going to be very, very strong. Plus, you're stacking up a shit ton of resistance off of it, as well as speed. And then the 9-piece bonus as well, where it decreases the cooldown of any revive skills by 1 turn, is very, very strong. So if you think about running that in something like Chimera, with a Senna, reviving, bringing everybody back, decreasing their skill cooldowns, it is so incredibly impactful for your account. So you're getting that from the live arena, though, which makes it a little bit more inaccessible, depending on, you know, how you feel about that and whatnot. But that being said, this was a gear tier list or review, a gear set review by somebody who actually sort of knows what they're talking about inside the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope this was helpful, and I hope it gives you more information about what to sell, what to keep on your account. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.